Red Dead Redemption 2. What makes this game Rockstar's magnum opus? And why, after all this time, have players not moved on from it despite the game being over 5 years old? Red Dead Redemption 2 has its fair share of problems, which we'll go into a little bit later, but make no mistake, this game is a masterpiece, at least in part thanks to its characters and their stories. Redemption 2 is a story about a gang of outlaws doing everything they can to make enough money to escape their past before it catches up to them.
We just need money. One more decent take and we're gone.
Leading the gang is Dutch Van der Linde, the charismatic brains behind the operation who is tamed by no one, except Hosea. Arthur Morgan, the stoic and conscientious protagonist, John Marston, who is actively avoiding paying any child support, Micah, Lenny, Sadie, Uncle, who's the only one getting much needed shut-eye while a war is happening, Miss Grimshaw, Tilly, Jack, Strauss, Abigail, Pearson, Sean, Charles and Javier. All of these renegades and misfits come together to form the Van der Linde gang, who each have their own individual backstories and character arcs which are coloured in as you go through the story. It's easily the strongest aspect of Red Dead 2. The more you learn about these characters as time goes on, the more it makes you care, which makes it feel so much more impactful when something bad happens.
Give me a second. Come on! Push, Arthur! Thank you.
Arthur Morgan is probably the greatest protagonist Rockstar have ever made. He isn't just a blunt instrument waving his gun around willy-nilly. There's so much depth and consciousness to his character, especially by the end, even if Arthur doesn't believe it himself. He's got this vibrant personality that's believable and relatable to the audience, but the thing about Arthur that keeps me gripped throughout the story is the evolutional change he goes through as the story progresses, an evolution which is highlighted whenever he meets Sister Calderon.
Don't worry so much about your heart. The actions will lead, and the heart follows. I'll still think of you in very nasty terms, as you wish.
For all of his flaws and bad things he feels he has to do out of loyalty to Dutch and the gang, there is good in him, and that good, contrasted with the internal struggles he's going through, makes you feel for him, almost as if he was real. Arthur Morgan, at least in my eyes, is the greatest fictional character in video game history, making him and his compadres a big, if not the biggest, piece in this masterpiece puzzle. Before we move on to the gameplay, we need to talk about the world it's set in. And what a world it is! The meticulous attention to detail in this game is just mind-boggling, along with all of the missable secrets contained in this world that the game doesn't hold your hand into finding. The scenery is pretty jaw-dropping, and if you travel far enough, you'll reach snowy mountains, swelteringly hot swampy areas, bustling towns and cities, or the vast plains. It's got everything, all of which are bursting with life that probably wants to eat you. Visually, the game is stunning, even over 5 years later, but Rockstar really turned up the dial on creating a playable cinematic experience here. There's a lot going on to keep you immersed in the game, not to mention the random interactions you have along the way. It's like your very own ADHD simulator. It's like, ooh, what's that? Oh, what's going on over here? You could walk down the dusky main roads of Saint Denis and have unique dialogue with every single NPC there. You could have played the game for 200 hours and done 20 playthroughs and still have missed a lot of stuff this game has to offer. Rockstar are really encouraging exploration with this game, and they make sure it's a pleasure to do it. These are things that make a great open world game, where it doesn't feel like a chore to go from one end of the map to the other. My god, I've got to go all the way over there. All of this is underscored by an incredible soundtrack that either hypes you up while you're heading into a fight, or it fills you with dread as you're being left to die by your oldest friend.
I need help!
Rockstar have always had an ear for great music placements in their games, so I think this is why people haven't moved on and still love Red Dead Redemption 2 to this day, because the game is more of an experience than a game. There's just so much to see and do, it's hard to be bored in a game like this. This variety can't be said for the combat though, and this is something Rockstar have suffered from for many years with the GTA games. The shooting feels pretty good in this game, but once you've played main missions for a few hours, it begins to feel like you're playing a carnival shooting gallery over and over again. And your life is never really at risk because you can just eat a can of baked beans and replenish all of your stats instantly, which makes the combat lose any element of danger. Now, I'm not saying there isn't variety in the missions themselves, because there are, but the majority of missions are go here, shoot these people, steal something or destroy something, and then go back to camp. After a few hours, if you're solely doing the main missions and nothing else, it does get a bit tiring, but you can balance it out with the side missions. Normally, in most open world games, side missions seem like an absolute chore and don't offer anything of value to the story, so you'll probably never do them unless you're grinding for trophies. But in Red Dead Redemption 2, they've put so much effort into the side missions to make them all feel unique and not necessarily one and done missions. The most memorable, for me at least, are the Mrs. Downs side quests after you've met her and her son on a main mission for Strauss. You eventually bump into them and see just how bad things have become for them since your last visit, probably due to your last visit. So as the name of the game implies, this side quest storyline is Arthur's chance at redemption with that family, and it's just so well written and engaging it may as well be part of the main story. You've also got side missions that don't even show up on the map. You have to go out and discover these things, like the Hannibal-style serial killer, or the pig farmer and his sister. Or is it his wife? There's just so much to do in this game, whether it's main story missions, side quest, hunting, fishing, dominoes, poker, treasure hunting, robbing houses, crafting, weapon customization, which is pretty good. I can't imagine too much weapon customization went on in 1899, but it does feel good enough as a player. There's not nearly as much customization to the extent of other games, obviously, but there are enough weapons to satisfy your itch for sniping, or blowing someone's head off with a double-barrel shotgun. And the ragdolls, when you do, are a benchmark for the industry. I love a good ragdoll effect, because when there isn't one, for me, it ruins the immersion in the game. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a masterclass in how to create an engaging and entertaining open world with interesting characters, amazing story, and so much stuff to do you literally won't have time to be bored. And each topic I've talked about in this video really should have its own video to really deep dive into each aspect, especially Arthur's character, but I'm a busy man, and I've got some shit to shovel. So for now, 10 out of 10. This is why I think it's Rockstar's masterpiece.